This is the Total Freedom Podcast, presenting number one best-selling author Christopher Duncan, bringing you proven strategies to free your time, free your mind, and free your income, so that you can do more of what matters most. Learn more at ChristopherMDuncan.com.
Welcome to the Total Freedom Podcast with your host, Christopher Duncan. And today I'm pretty excited to have the youngest guest I've ever had on the show, Caleb Maddix. And let me tell you a little bit about this young man. He's absolutely smashing it. He's the author and of a best-selling book called The Keys to Success for Kids. He's 14 years old, an entrepreneur, which I already mentioned, founder and CEO of Kids for Success, founder of kidsforsuccess.tv, lives in St. Petersburg, Florida. And dude, it is so good to have you here, and it's so refreshing to watch your videos and see you talk about success. And man, I wish I had your brain and your intensity at age 14. So welcome to the show. Is there anything else that you would add for our listeners to kind of find out a little bit more about who you are?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. But as far as stuff that I would add, honestly, all you have to know about me is I give people motivation, inspiration, and education, and I motivate people. So that's really all you got to know about me, and I do that through my books, through my speaking, through my coaching, through my videos, through my periscopes, through my interviews, through all of this stuff. I motivate people. That's all you got to know.
I love it, man. You are an inspiration, and it seems like it's something you're born to do. So it's mate, it's just so great. I mean, the thing that I see, and I watch a lot of people's videos, and I do a lot of videos and doing a lot of talks, but when it comes through you, I want to let you know it just comes through so effortlessly, and you're such a good motivator. It's really great to see. But here's what I want to know from you right off the bat. There's a lot of people thinking, well, how is there this 14-year-old kid that's like crushing it like you are? So tell us your story, man. Like, how have you ended up here? I know you've been reading books since age 6. You do like a book a day, all sorts of stuff. But why don't you just share with us the journey?
Well, listen, my journey is super long, but to summarize it for you, when I was about 6 years old, I went up to my dad and I said, I want to write a book. And that's basically, that's 12 years old. But let me go back to when I was 6 years old. So I went up to my dad and I said, I want to become the shortstop for the New York Yankees. Because I love the Yankees. I love baseball. I love Derek Jeter. So I just felt like a fit. I love playing baseball. So I went up to him. I said that. And he said, okay. He said, that's awesome, man. I was like, Dad, aren't you going to say anything else? He's like, yeah. He said, I got one question, though. He said, are you willing to be committed and sacrifice a lot of things? I'm like 6 years old. He said, and sacrifice what you have to sacrifice in order to make this happen. And I said, well, yes, sir. So the next day at about 6 a.m., because I was kind of discouraged. I was like, man, he didn't really say much. I thought he was going to give me a motivation or whatever. But the next day at 6 a.m., I heard these pots and pans banging together. And he was screaming. He's like, do you still want to play for the Yankees? I was like, yeah, man, I still want to play for the Yankees. So I got up out of bed, and I was like, all tired. And he said, get in the car. So we got in the car and basically drove me to the baseball field. And he sat me down for like 3 hours on a Saturday. And he went through the values that I was going to live by and the things that I was going to do in order to make it. So never cry in the baseball field. Stay positive. Work the hardest. Always have to have the dirty uniform. And we went over this stuff. And really, after that, I was this passionate kid. And my dad, for the first 2 weeks, he kind of watched to see if I really wanted to do this. And I really did. But I was the shortest kid on the team. I was the worst in my league and all this stuff. And I just wasn't any good. But that forced me to work extremely hard. So my dad got me like 8 coaches. We worked extremely hard. And I went from being the worst on my team at 6 years old to being one of the number one in all of Florida at about 9 years old. So I worked extremely hard. When other kids were playing video games, I was working. When other kids were, hanging out, having a pool party, I was hitting tee work and all this stuff. And you can imagine a kid at this age, he has so much passion, right? I had this passion, like, I'm going to work extremely hard. I was shorter. We had gone through a lot of stuff that I've never even shared. We've been homeless before. We've slept in our car. All of this stuff factored in, and we had to work. I basically had to work extremely hard. And I had this passion. And my dad does like speaking and stuff. So my dad traveled around the world doing speaking and coaching and all that stuff. And I met a lot of kids and adults who didn't really have that much of a passion. And I was like, you don't have a passion. I do have a passion. And I wanted to kind of help people create a passion and have a missions mindset, right? Be on a mission, kids, adults as well. So basically, since that happened, I was like, you know what, Dad? I want to inspire people. So I started doing video blogs. I started speaking. At 12 years old, I went up to my dad and I said, I want to write a book. And he said, go for it. So I walked to my room and I finished it. I wrote the book on my notes on my iPhone and finished it within a week. We had that published. I've been privileged to be mentored by all these people, and really a lot of accomplishments have come out of it. A lot of people I've gotten to help. I've had 2 million views on my videos within the last 6 months, all of this stuff. And it's really starting to pay off. But it all started from me having a passion and meeting people who didn't. And I wanted to help share the passion I had with them. And that's actually pretty cool because that's where a lot of people start off. And that's kind of my story. I could go a lot deeper, but that's like the 2-minute version of it.
I love it, man. And you and I are actually very similar. So it's very cool. I feel like I'm talking to a younger version of myself.
Awesome.
When I was your age, I was completely committed to basketball and I ended up playing for my country and doing all sorts of stuff. And so I remember waking up, and my dad is very similar to your dad, and getting up at 6 a.m. every single day to shoot 1,000 shots before school. And so it pays off. They actually say, the people that do the best in business, sportsmen, martial artists, and people that are in the Navy or the Army. So it really.
Well, I think the reason why is because it instills like a work in you. You have to work to become good. And kids who normally don't play sports, they don't really have anything to work for. They go to school, they kind of go through the motions. So I agree with you. I've seen that happen. You see Lewis Howes. He was a professional football player. A lot of very successful people, have that background. So it's interesting to see.
You're in business, you're making money, you're following your passion. And it's likely there's a bunch of people listening to this who've been on the planet a lot longer than you and are still stuck in their story and not doing it. So from a person who's doing it, from you, what's your advice for these people that just aren't starting and aren't doing it? What would you say to them? How would you help them?
Well, it's cliche, but you're not getting any younger. And what I mean by that is this. You have no better opportunity than right now to be successful, because tomorrow is an extra day that you didn't get to work. And, so many people, they're like, okay, I'm going to lose weight, but I'll do it next week. Or they'll say, I'll start Monday. I'll start January 1st. I'll start here and there. And a quote that I've said, and a lot of people use it now and have been starting to like it, is the gun that kills the most people is the gunna. I'm going to write the book. I'm going to start the business. I'm going to, break up with the girlfriend. I'm going to, marry this girl. I'm going to. And they keep continuing to say, I'm going to. And what does gonna sound like? It sounds like a gun. So the gun that kills the most people is the gunna. And you'll realize that, like, even today, it's what is it, January 19th or 20th or whatever it is. I think it's the 19th. Me and my dad went into the gym at about 6 a.m. And on January 1st, we went into the gym packed out. Everybody was there. 20 people in our gym. And then today we go in, we were the only people. It was dark. And the reason why is because people live in this mindset. So I would say to every single person out there who's thinking about starting, my advice to you would be, why not? Start. The greatest idea was never made because somebody had that idea, but they never executed on it. And I guarantee you, out of everybody watching this interview, somebody has an idea as good as Apple. They just won't execute on it because they're afraid. They're like, I will one day. I'll say, listen, start. It's the best time to start. You'll see results from it. And the reason why you see some people succeeding who have way less talent than you is simply because they're actually doing something and you are doing what you've always done. Start now.
Love it. You can have reasons or results, right? But not both.
I love that.
It's huge. And so one thing I think that stops people, and this was on my list of things to talk to you about, so I've got my little extra questions here, is they say they have these I'm twos. I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too short. Or they have I'm not enough this. I'm not enough that. And it's likely there's people out there listening, Caleb, who go, oh, but I need to go get a coaching certificate. I need to go and get this, or I need to go do that. And so right now it's kind of a slap in the face to them to hear a 14-year-old do that. But let me ask you this.
I agree with that.
How do you deal? Because I know how I deal, but I want to know how do you deal with the imposter in the brain that says, I'm too young, or I don't know enough, or how do you handle that?
I don't, because here's the reason why. I've conditioned myself to know that it doesn't matter. Like I see the results it's getting, and I wish I could give a good answer that would help you, But like honestly, in the back of my mind, I never think to myself, man, am I too young? Because I'm seeing, even though I am young, I'm seeing the results that are happening. So, I mean, for everybody out there who is thinking about that, try to think about how I could bring the most value, because I don't like giving answers that just are like, this is for me. I like to give value to people. I would say think about the reasons why see your disadvantage can also be your advantage. So like for me, young, that's a disadvantage, but it's also an advantage. So I would try to focus more on the advantage, like, oh, I'm to this and to that. Think about how that can be an advantage rather than a disadvantage, right? Like maybe I don't have enough experience. Well, people love people who are fresh. They love people who are up and coming. Some people are like, oh, I need this or whatever. I would say, listen, turn your disadvantage into an advantage, and you'll see so much more results.
Caleb, you're brilliant.
But see, the thing is, I struggle more with like people who are like, you're too young, than I do with my own self. But I'm still good with handling that.
You're brilliant, mate, and what a great answer. Turn your perceived disadvantages into advantages, which is massive. And so, obviously, you can help a lot of people, but you're choosing at the moment to help kids the most. Would you tell us a little bit about your work with kids and the Success TV and all that sort of stuff?
Well, I do just as much with adults actually as I do kids, but my products are to kids because I can relate to that. And I know when I'm 18 years old, the opportunity for that, I'll still be able to help kids, but not at the exact same scale. Like a kid sees a 14-year-old doing the exact same thing. It motivates them. So really, I do two things with kids. I do three things. The first thing that I do is I have my book, of course, Keys to Success for Kids. But that's a minor thing. It's just a normal book. Then I also have something called Kids for Success. I just launched like this past week. And really what that is it's a coaching program for kids. And when a kid signs up, they get a daily video from me for the entire year. So like today we talked about why setting goals that you're passionate is important. And it's a really great tool for kids to go to that'll help them create the right habits and really prepare kids for success, just like the name says. So you'll get a daily video. We also keep kids accountable, like the kids who they want to be successful, but they don't have that person in their life who's trying to keep them accountable with, are you doing the right actions? And that's why a lot of kids do good in school, is because of the grades and stuff. So what we do is there's 4 actions that kids need to take every single day. And if they take those, they get a certain grade. So like, you do 3 of them, you get this grade. You do 4, you get this grade. And so it goes into accountability system. And then also, we just kind of encourage them. We're always there to answer their questions. But the best way I could summarize that is coaching. It really just coaches kids to create the right habits. And if you want to check that out, go to kidsforsuccess.tv. So kids and then the number 4success.tv.
We'll put that in the show notes. So that will just be down here or somewhere. If you're listening to this on iTunes, you need to go to christophermduncan.com/podcast, and we'll have it right there where they can just click on it and get right on it. But also write that down as well. So I love the work you're doing with kids. And have you had some massive results? Are kids engaging in it? Yeah. Do you want to tell us about some of the big results you've had?
One big result that happened, I mean, I've had many kids that have seen results from it. One's getting in Success magazine because, different stuff like that. There's other results like that. But one in particular that really made me like reflect and made me think, okay, this is why I'm doing what I do. Like it really motivated me. Was this one mother reached out to me and said, I got my son in Kids for Success, and he was one of the worst in the school for bad. He got suspended like 3 times within a span of a month. He was getting Fs. He wasn't having success. He was back talking. He wasn't respectful. All this stuff, and he was seeing all these results. And he was like going downhill really quick. And his mother made him start to watch the videos, and the kid got like captured. Like he was like, this is actually good stuff. So he started to apply some of it. He just started his first business. He's the top in his class for grades, and he hasn't gotten suspended since he's been watching it. And I mean that different. There's been so many things like that. Kids have read my book and gone from not knowing what they want to do to being clear and all this stuff. But that's a really big one. That's one of my favorite stories of what's happened.
Good for you, man. That's amazing and well done. And so all the parents out there that are listening, and let's get the kids and let's get Caleb in front of them, because I can tell you right now, just listening to him and being with him, that this guy's got it. And It's awesome, mate. So where do you see yourself? Like, what's your big goals? Where are you at 18, 25, 30? Do you have that plan? I guess you do.
I do, yeah. I want to make 6 figures this year, 100
Nice.
grand. That's my goal. And I have that like really mapped out when I want to make it by, how much I want to make and how I'm going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make 6 figures this year. I want to be a millionaire by 16,
Mm-hmm.
a billionaire by 30. By 30 years old, I want to write 10 New York Times bestsellers. I want to do a TED Talk by the time I'm 15 years old. I want to speak in front of 100,000 people in my lifetime. I want to make $10,000 a month until I become, like this year, I want to make $10,000 every single month. So, I mean, a lot of different goals like that. And a lot of them fall under and impacting people. Because I always say my impact's more important than my income.
Right. Good for you, man. I mean, it's great to hear those big goals, and I know you can do it, and it's such a good starting place, and what you're sharing is huge. So let me ask you a few of my quick fire questions, because we are going to have to say goodbye in a second. The first one is this. What's one of your personal habits that that you really think contributes to your success? Like what's one of your big ones?
I'll give you 3 real quick. These are 3 habits that I think will change anybody's life, and I'll go over these quick. This is the most powerful thing I could ever tell, and I'm glad that you brought this up. The first one is learn, okay? This habit that I've had since I was really young, like 6 years old, right? I've been reading, watching videos, having my mentors, constantly learning from every single person, every single word that they say, coming up with quotes, coming up with different stuff. Learning is super big. So learn, that's the first habit. The second habit is earn. Making money. I've been making sales calls, prospecting. Even when I don't just define earn as making money. I define it by working. So I mean, earn, work. That's the second one. And the third one is return. They all rhyme. Learn, earn, return. Return, and that's powerful. I've been able to help feed over 10,000 homeless people, 5,000 fatherless kids that, we've given away bikes to, and been on over 50 mission trips. We've given back. And really, I think those contribute to my success. I've done those 3 things. I've learned, I've earned, and I've returned, and the results are really paying off. And I think any kid out there watching that or watching this, try to do those 3 things every single day, and adults as well.
Love it, man. Love it. Other than your book, what book would you recommend?
I would recommend the first book that I ever read, and that is The Success Principles. It's by Jack Canfield. They have a book called The Success Principles for Teens, and then The Success Principles for adults, of course, is called The Success Principles. And Jack Canfield is the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, if you don't know. Right. But I read the adult version when I was like 6 years old. It took me like 3 months, but it was the most life-changing thing ever.
That's awesome. Look, we're coming up to time to say goodbye. So before we do, is there any last piece of advice that you want to leave with our audience? A lasting thought.
I'll give you one, because normally you stole it. Normally I'll talk about the learn and return, and then normally I'll talk about starting now. But we covered both of those. So I'd say something that I would say to every single person out there is make adjustments. Like, that's so big. Constantly, this number one trait that I've been able to have in my life is making adjustments. Like, even trying new stuff, and if it doesn't work, and then like getting away from it. Weighing it out. Okay, does this work? Does this not work? Test, make adjustments. Constantly trying to find that perfect formula that'll open that door for success. Because it's all different for all of us. There's the basics, there's the principles, but then there's also for our specific vision. So I'd say make adjustments, constantly be testing and finding ways to be more successful.
Beautiful. Great message. Keep adjusting. Make sure that you start, learn, earn, return. There's been so much, mate. You're an absolute powerhouse, and I just can't wait to see you do big things. So it's been such a pleasure, and thank you for spending some of your time with us, which I know there's so many other things. And I think the biggest thing that I've got out of this is motivators are everywhere, and inspiration is everywhere. And whether it shows up in an amazing 14-year-old young man, or whether it shows up in a 6-year-old, it doesn't matter. The message is pure. So if you're out there listening, you've got kids who need to go and visit Caleb, then you need to go and check that out in the show notes, get them on there. But if you're an adult, you've been inspired. One thing for certain is if you don't stay vulnerable and humble and learn from the people who are masters in their field, then you're not going to be able to get there. And it seems to me that this young man is absolutely great at it. So it's been a pleasure spending time with you. I look forward to talking.
Everybody out there, hold on real quick. Everybody out there, add me on Snapchat at KaleMax13.
I was about to say that. Where do they get in touch with you, how do they do it? So what's your Snapchat? What's your Twitter? What's your websites?
My Snapchat is at Caleb Maddix 13, and then everything else is Caleb Maddix. It's just my name. But I give you the 3 platforms that you have to add me on is Snapchat, Facebook, and Periscope. Those are the 3 things I spend my most time on.
Love it, brother. You're a legend. Thank you for spending your time. Everyone out there listening, get on that. Follow Caleb. He's going to absolutely smoke it in. And if nothing else, he's going to inspire you to do more. So live with total freedom, free your mind, free your time, free your life, so that you can do more of what matters most. This was Christopher Duncan. You can get all of that at christophermduncan.com/podcast. Love you guys so much. Go out there, smash it.
This has been the Total Freedom Podcast. Learn more at christophermduncan.com. Use the hashtag #TotalFreedomTV, and Chris will answer your questions. What are you doing to create freedom today?